I'm curious when you came up here and looked at my notes, because you provided a very good segue. I'm going to take the form more of a soliloquy than a colloquy because of the time constraints, and point out that the exchange between Congresswoman Bass and John was really informative. That I wrote this down at the time. Marxist-Leninism and radical Islam, or radical intolerant anything, are similar because both are antithetical to the natural state of humanity. That the Lazarus, I have very little time, with all due respect, and I have a great deal based on what Mr. Rohrbacher said. Let me keep going. The line from the Lazarus poem referencing huddled masses yearning to breathe free comes to mind. If you tell someone what they cannot do, they will inherently wish to try to do that, because that is the natural state of man. And so I look to an illustrative piece of text from this country, and I will omit the first word and simply say, shall not make laws respecting the establishment of religion, nor prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or press, or the right of people to peaceably assemble, and petition the government for redress of grievances, and submit that this should be our standard for the world. However, your statements as it regards to Iran, I think, are illustrative of the reality in which we in the West all too often oversimplify things by suggesting that perhaps it is either black or white. The deposition of the Shah was in no arguable sense a reaction to a lack of atrocities on the part of the secret police in Iran, but what it begat was bloodshed on a scale not seen in that region for years. That began in 1979, and then punctuated with an exclamation point in '88, and then again during the Green Revolution just less than a decade ago. With that, I would ask that we enter into the record the cover, title page, and preface, which is a total of 7 pages, of Iran, Where Mass Murderers Rule. And I would point out also that I think that we oversimplify the issue of Islam. I will submit candidly that despite my Christian faith, I am delighted to say that there are many Muslims who I count among my friends. Having said that, I will decry and condemn radical Islam vehemently and full-throatedly, as should everyone here, as they also should with any radical intolerant practitioner of Christianity or Judaism or any other faith that seeks to impose upon others against their natural law right to determine for themselves how they choose to worship or if they choose to worship. And that should be where the United States stands. While I take exception with Mr. Hook's comments as it relates to some of the circumstances in Egypt, I would submit that as it relates to Saudi Arabia, if we are to engage in arms deals amounting to trillions of dollars in trade, I don't think it's too much to ask that they stop publishing texts to the entire Islamic world in their various languages, adhering to a strict Wahhabist standard. And I would also point out that the Sufis massacred in the hundreds not so long ago were in fact Muslims who believed that they should be able to believe differently as Muslims, and they're just as dead as any Jew or Christian or atheist who ever died at the tip of a religious motivated spear. So diversity is strength so long as that diversity is tolerant of diversity, and diversity that you can see how we worship, who we love, how we look is important, but the diversity that we can't see that exists between our left and right ear in a world where we make human rights paramount is equally, if not more so, important. So I just wish we had more time on this subject matter. I would call upon my colleagues to take a step back and understand that condemning radical Islam is not condemning Islam, and that you should be equally willing to condemn radical practitioners of any faith, whether they are pushing the Rohingya from their ancestral lands. That the American role, in order to have credibility, is not to be the parent who tells their child not to drink while buying a bottle of liquor, but who says, we're tolerant of others here, it works well here, and Mr. Saeed, your comments have been very appreciated to that end, and it will work well for you too. I apologize for my soliloquy, understandably because of time, and I didn't mean to cut you off or be disrespectful, but this is what happens when you're a junior member. God bless. Thank you all.